Welcome to this lecture on reproductive biology. Today, we are going to explore one of the most profound transformations the human body ever undergoes: puberty. We will uncover the hidden biological triggers, the cascading hormones, and the elegant mathematics that make human reproduction possible. Let us dive in and understand how this incredible process begins. To truly grasp what puberty is, let us imagine a massive, complex factory. This factory has been fully built and sitting in the dark for about 10 years. The heavy machinery is there, but the main power switch is turned off. Puberty is exactly like someone finally walking into the control room and flipping that switch. Suddenly, the lights flicker on and production begins. In the human body, this factory is the reproductive system. Before this moment, a child's body is focused entirely on growing taller. When puberty begins, a chemical signal from the brain triggers a magnificent transformation into a mature adult. Now that we understand the factory analogy, let us look at the actual biological machinery. Scientifically, puberty is driven by the reawakening of the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis, or HPG axis. During childhood, this axis is kept highly suppressed and dormant. As puberty initiates, a region in the brain called the hypothalamus begins to release gonadotropin-releasing hormone in a rhythmic manner. These pulses stimulate the pituitary gland to release luteinizing hormone and follicle-stimulating hormone. These, in turn, command the gonads to produce sex steroids like testosterone and estrogen, creating a cascading waterfall of hormones. This biological cascade leads us to an important question. Why does tracking this process matter in the real world? Understanding puberty is critical because it is the fundamental biological bridge between childhood and adulthood. Medical professionals use these milestones to track a child's overall health and genetic development. If puberty starts too early, known as precocious puberty, it can cause bones to stop growing prematurely, leading to a short adult height. Conversely, significantly delayed puberty might indicate severe malnutrition or chronic illness. Therefore, puberty acts as a vital sign reflecting a young person's overall physiological well-being. Before we look at the mathematics, we must understand how these hormonal signals are actually delivered. The hypothalamus does not just leak hormone constantly like a dripping faucet. Instead, it fires the hormone in sharp, distinct bursts. For these bursts to be effective at waking up the pituitary gland, the hormone from the first burst must disappear quickly before the next burst arrives. If the hormone lingered too long, the pituitary gland would become overwhelmed, desensitized, and actually shut down the puberty process. This rapid clearance is absolutely essential for the signals to work. This need for rapid clearance brings us to the mathematical equation that describes this vital biological fading process. The formula states that the concentration at any given time, C of t, equals the initial peak concentration, C0, multiplied by the mathematical constant E raised to the power of negative kt. Let us break down these symbols. C of t is the hormone level in the blood. C0 is the massive initial spike right after a pulse. The constant E describes natural biological decay. The variable K is the elimination rate constant, showing how fast the liver and kidneys clear the hormone. Finally, T is the time passed. If the elimination rate K increases, the hormone disappears much faster from the bloodstream. Now that we have our decay formula, Let us see this with a concrete example by calculating the half-life of GnRH. We are given an initial concentration of 200 picograms per milliliter and an elimination rate constant of 0.173 per minute. We want to find the exact time it takes for the concentration to drop to half its value, which is 100. We substitute these numbers into our exponential decay formula. By dividing both sides by 200, we get 0.5 on the left. To solve for time, we take the natural logarithm of both sides. This calculation gives us a final answer of exactly 4.0 minutes. Physically, this incredibly short half-life means the signal vanishes almost as quickly as it appears, allowing the brain to reset. So, we have successfully calculated the half-life. This brings us to a beautiful mathematical property hidden in that calculation. Let us look at the general proof for half-life. We start by setting the target concentration to 0.5 times C0. Notice what happens when we divide both sides by the initial concentration. The C0 terms cancel out completely, leaving us with 0.5 equals e to the power of negative kt. We then take the natural logarithm of both sides to isolate the time variable. This proves that the half-life depends entirely on the rate constant k. It is completely independent of how massive the initial hormone pulse was. This guarantees the timing of puberty signals remains perfectly consistent. Now that we understand how individual pulses fade, let us look at how they accumulate over time. This brings us to the formula for daily hormone production. The equation is simple. P equals M times F. In plain English, the total daily production of a hormone, P, is equal to the mass of the hormone secreted in response to a single pulse, represented by M, multiplied by the frequency, or the number of pulses occurring in a day, represented by F. This formula tells us something very important about human biology. The total hormone level in the body can be increased in two distinct ways. The brain can either make each individual pulse stronger by increasing the mass M, or it can send the pulses more often by increasing the frequency, F. Before we move on, let us apply this production formula to a pubertal male. We are given that each luteinizing hormone pulse stimulates the testes to produce a specific mass of 0.5 milligrams of testosterone. We are also given that the frequency of these pulses is 12 times per day. We simply substitute these values into our equation, multiplying 0.5 by 12. This gives us a final calculated answer of 6.0 milligrams of testosterone produced every single day. Physically, this means the brain is highly efficient. By sending just 12 brief chemical text messages a day, it successfully commands the testes to manufacture a massive amount of hormone, driving the profound physical changes of male puberty. Let us bring all these concepts and formulas together by looking at this complete system diagram. You are looking at the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis feedback loop. At the very top, we see the hypothalamus in the brain, which fires pulsatile signals of GnRH down to the anterior pituitary gland. The pituitary then releases LH and FSH, shown by the downward arrows, which travel to the gonads. The gonads then manufacture sex steroids like testosterone and estrogen. These steroids drive the development of secondary sexual characteristics, shown on the right. Finally, notice the dashed line pointing back up to the brain. This is the negative feedback loop, ensuring hormone levels stay perfectly balanced. We have covered a tremendous amount of ground today, so let us review our key takeaways. First, Puberty is the grand awakening of the body's reproductive capabilities, driven entirely by the activation of the HPG axis. Second, this process relies on the brain firing rhythmic, distinct pulses of hormones, rather than a continuous stream. Third, because these hormones follow rapid, exponential decay, the body responds correctly without becoming desensitized. Finally, these intermittent signals accumulate to drive massive physical changes. You have now mastered the biological and mathematical foundations of puberty. Excellent work.